Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to talk about a social skill that, we all desperately need, but we hardly ever talk about out loud. And that is the art of the subtle exit. We're going to look at how to gracefully end a conversation without any of that awkwardness. And trust me, by the end of this, you are going to be a total pro.
I mean, come on, you've been there, right? That feeling where you're just stuck. You're at a party, maybe you're on a work call, and the conversation just keeps going. It's long past its natural expiration date, and you start looking around for any possible escape route. Well, that's exactly what we're going to find today. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll get into why these situations feel so incredibly awkward in the first place. Then we'll compare two very different styles for getting out of there, and after that, I'm going to give you a whole toolkit of phrases and even physical cues you can use. We'll even see it all play out in a story, and finally, we'll touch on something really important, how culture totally changes the rules of the game. So what is the deal? Why is saying a simple goodbye sometimes one of the hardest things to do? Well, it's because it's this super delicate social dance. On one hand, we're trying to manage our own time and set boundaries, but on the other, we really don't want to come off as rude or, hurt someone's feelings. It's a real social puzzle. Now, how you handle this really depends on a few things, like who are you talking to, how comfortable are you with being direct, but honestly, a huge piece of this puzzle is emotional intelligence. Some people are just tuned in. They can read the room, they get the vibe, but then there are others. And with them, it can feel like the hints are just bouncing right off. Some people are ninjas at picking up cues, and others, well, they need something a little more obvious. And that brings us to these two really distinct styles of ending an interaction. The question is, are you using a megaphone, or are you moving like a ninja? Let's break down what that actually means.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the megaphone approach. It is direct, it is unmistakable, and you know what? Sometimes it's necessary. But today, we are focusing on the other side, the ninja. This is all about mastering a shared sub-language of subtle hints and quiet gestures to gracefully signal that, hey, it's time to wrap things up.
So, how do you become one of these conversation ninjas? Well, it all comes down to what's in your toolkit. We're about to arm you with the exact verbal and physical cues you need to send a message that's super clear but also perfectly polite.
All right, let's start with an absolute classic. This little question. It seems so innocent, doesn't it? But it is packed with hidden meaning. You're not really just asking for the time. See, when you ask this, you're immediately hitting pause on the conversation to focus on something totally external, time itself. It's a signal that everyone understands. It says that other things, or maybe just how late it's getting, are starting to become a priority.
Okay, here's another really powerful one, and I want you to pay super close attention to the verb here. It's not, I'm so glad we're doing this. It's, I'm so glad we did this. That one tiny word, did. That's the magic trick. Like the slide says, using the past tense frames the entire event as something that is now complete. You are verbally putting a nice little bookend on the whole interaction. It's an incredibly effective way to signal that things are coming to a close. And of course, you've got other tools in the box. Asking about their week, that shifts the focus away from right now and into the future. Or showing concern for them. You must be tired. That gives them a polite excuse to leave. And then there's the classic, wow, why am I so tired? Which is a pretty clear statement that your social battery is empty. And hey, don't forget, your body can speak volumes without you saying a word. A quick glance at your watch, starting to collect glasses or tidy up the kitchen, a little yawn, or even just standing up from your chair. Those actions can sometimes be the most powerful signal of all. It changes the energy from we're hanging out to we're wrapping up. Okay, so let's see how this whole toolkit actually works in a real-world scenario. Let's imagine you're hosting, and you have a guest who is just not getting the hint. This is where you might have to start escalating your cues, right? You start with the most subtle and work your way up. Just look at this progression. The host starts gently, asking about the future, nothing. They try showing concern for the guest, still nothing. Then comes the time check, followed by a yawn, and the guest still doesn't move. So finally, the host has to pull out the big gun. Well, I'm so glad we did this. And that's the signal that finally connects. Now here is a really tricky little cultural detail. After all of that work, when the guest finally says, okay, I should probably get going, the host might say something like, oh, already? So soon? This, my friends, is the politeness trap. It is almost never a genuine invitation to stay longer. It's just a social formality, a last little polite gesture. Whatever you do, don't fall for it and sit back down. And this is absolutely critical to remember. All of these cues are super cultural. What feels like a really long visit in one country might be considered just a quick pop-in another. The social clock really does run on different time zones.
And this table just makes the point so perfectly. In the US, a 2 or 3 hour dinner party is pretty standard, but in some parts of Europe or India, a dinner can easily go for 5 or 6 hours. There's just no universal rule book for when it's officially time to go.
So that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Think about your own experiences, your own cultural background. When somebody invites you over for dinner, what's the unwritten rule? How long are you actually expected to stay? Because understanding that, that's the real first step to becoming a master of the graceful exit.
Got it! What's up? Catch up! Aha!